Good morning, friends, and welcome to my today's lecture. That is the second part of the themes in Toni Morrison's Blue Eyes. In my last lecture, I had talked about Toni Morrison being a black American writer dealing with the female characters, that is the black female characters in particular. She is also an editor, novelist, and a professor. I had also talked about the various themes that are dealt with in Toni Morrison's Bluest Eye. The two, beauty versus ugliness and women and femininity, I had described in my earlier lecture. Today I'll be describing the remaining themes that Toni Morrison deals with in her book The Bluest Eye. The third one is race and racism. Race and racism are two complicated issues in The Bluest Eye, which primarily explores the issue of racism occurring between people of color. Though there are a few white characters in the novel and no major white character, but still racism remains a dominating issue, being at the center of the text. Because the novel involves black characters, whiteness exists on the spectrum. Race is not only defined by the color of one's skin, the shape of one's features, or the texture of one's hair, but also by one's place of origin, socio-economic class, and educational background. Whiteness is always associated with virtue, cleanliness, and value, and being black is associated with immorality, dirtiness, and worthlessness. These ideas of race dealing with cleanliness, virtue, and value become internalized to varying degrees by different characters. Internalizing these ideas of race ultimately leads to self-hatred among the characters of The Bluest Eye, which creates various forms of dysfunction in the lives of the characters. For example, Mrs. Marty is unusually harsh with Claudia when she gets sick, because sickness signifies uncleanliness, which is related to being black. Likewise, Soaphead Church, who can't stand the dirtiness he associates with black women, directs his sexual desires towards children. The characters of the novel use the other black individuals as reference points against which they judge their own whiteness and sense of self-worth. Distinctions are drawn based on the shades of one's skin, the hue of one's eyes, and the texture of one's hair. But when these markers fall short in defining one's race, characters opt for socio-economic, educational, religious, regional, and hereditary differences to define their whiteness. For example, in the novel, Geraldine attempts to separate herself and her family by straightening her hair, using lotion on Junior's skin to keep it from being ashen, and keeping her home immaculately clean. Soaphead Church uses his white heritage, place of origin, and educational background to define his whiteness. Characters who lack any mark of whiteness are the greatest sufferers. These themes reaches its climax. This theme reaches its climax during Piccola's rape. Choli's racial hatred is borne by Piccola as she carries her father's baby. Now, in the next place, we have home and family. Home in the bluest eye is not just a physical structure where the family lives, but it means much more than that. It defines an idea that a character has about his own self or the sense of self worth, and also informs the way the people around them perceive them to be. Here, the homes depicted are set against an ideal image of home and family, presented in the opening section of the novel, written in the style of a Dick and Jane primer. This ideal helps to contrast the non traditional homes and family compositions in which the flag families live. Now, because the idea of home is fundamental in perceiving black families, owning and caring for a house becomes important or the primary focus. Home acts as a means of proving their sense of value as they are already at a disadvantage because of their skin color. Since the breedloves live in an abandoned storefront, they have no or rather minimum sense of self-worth. The martyrs live in their own old house, they have self-pride, and Geraldine, in a beautiful house, makes him feel superior to other black families. Now, Claudia draws a sharp distinction between being homeless and being outdoors. Most people in the novel do not own house, but they carry that sense of home and family. But being on outdoors signifies end of home and family, a place from where there is no return. Choli's rape of Piccola represents the absence of home and family. In raping his own daughter, Choli commits the ultimate violation of home and family. As against this, we see that a sense of home and family can even serve as a redemptive force in one's life. Because of their home and family, Claudia and Frida have a different perspective as compared to those lacking home and family. Now, as far as the last but not the least theme that is concerned, we have sex and sexuality. Now, in this novel, sex is associated with violence, humiliation, and immorality. Here, sex, instead of being enjoyable act, acts as a form of oppression. Sex has a devastating effect on one's life and sense of self on both men and women in the novel. Scenes of sexual imitation are violent and humiliating, leaving a lasting effect on the novel's characters. Choli's first sexual experience is paired with humiliation and hatred. Frida's is forced upon her and makes her feel ruined, and Piccola's initiation happens through rape. In the story, men use sex as a means to oppress women in their lives. Choli's first sexual experience leads to his hatred of women, hatred of his own race, and his feeling of being unlovable. But for younger characters, sex defines their passage into womanhood. The adolescent girls are unaware of the dangers of sex and associate sex with love and sense of self-worth as a woman. That's all for now. I'll be coming up with more lectures of mine. Till then, goodbye and good day.